When Rome burned, so did its fortune. It was July, the year 64 AD. A single spark in the wooden shops near the Circus Maximus turned into an inferno that consumed the empire's heart. For 6 endless days and nights, the flames devoured everything: temples, palaces, libraries, and the marble streets of the Eternal City. The air was thick with ash, the sky glowed red. Gold melted from the roofs of shrines, flowing like rivers of light down the stone steps. Panic ruled the streets. Families ran through the smoke with what little they could carry. Statues cracked, columns collapsed, and the gods themselves seemed to abandon Rome. Amid the chaos, one man watched from the Palatine Hill: Emperor Nero. Some say he sang as the city burned, playing his lyre while reciting verses of Troy's destruction. Others claim he wept in silence, planning to rebuild a new capital from the ashes, a city of gold that would bear his name. When the flames finally died, 10 of Rome's 14 districts were gone. Thousands had perished, and tens of thousands were left homeless. But something else had vanished too: the imperial treasury. In the confusion, soldiers were seen escorting carts of gold, silver, and relics through the night toward the hills and underground chambers near the Palatine. Rumors spread like the smoke that still lingered. Nero had hidden his fortune in secret vaults beneath the city. Others believed the gold was stolen amid the chaos, or swallowed by the fire itself. But one thing was certain: Rome would never see that treasure again. And from that night on, the legend of Nero's lost gold was born, buried deep beneath the ruins of an empire that once believed itself eternal. After the fire, Rome lay in ashes, but Nero's ambitions had only just begun. While the people mourned their homes, the emperor envisioned something greater: a city reborn in his image, brighter and more magnificent than ever before. And to raise his dream, he turned to the one resource that still obeyed him: gold. Nero's wealth was unmatched in the ancient world. Taxes from every corner of the empire, Egypt, Gaul, Judea, Britannia, poured into his coffers. Tribute from conquered kings, the spoils of war, and the confiscated fortunes of senators who had fallen from favor, all found their way into Nero's treasury. His obsession with luxury became legendary. He lined his garments with pearls, plated his horse's stable in silver, and ordered a dining hall whose ceiling rained flowers and perfume upon his guests. But his greatest creation and his greatest secret was the Domus Aurea, the Golden House. Built upon the ruins of the fire, it stretched across the Palatine Hill, an enormous palace complex shimmering with gold leaf, marble, and jewels. The walls were adorned with mythological scenes, and in the center stood a colossal statue of Nero himself, towering 30 meters high, depicting him as Sul, the god of the sun. It was said that the palace's corridors were so vast that servants lost their way in the glittering maze. To the people of Rome, it was a monument to madness, a shrine to one man's hunger for divinity. But to Nero, it was more than a home. It was a vault. Beneath the Golden House, a labyrinth of chambers, storerooms, and tunnels stretched deep underground. Roman architects of the time described secret compartments with bronze doors that could only be opened by a mechanism hidden within the walls. Historians believe these subterranean chambers were where Nero stored his personal fortune, an unimaginable treasure of coins, artifacts, and golden idols taken from the temples of Greece and Egypt. Some accounts mention slaves disappearing after the construction, sealed alive to protect the secret of the emperor's vaults. Others whisper that the treasure was cursed, that those who touched it would lose their sanity, just as Nero had. In 68 AD, rebellion erupted. The Senate declared Nero a public enemy, and he fled the city that once worshipped him. Before his death, he was heard muttering, "Qualis artifex pereo." What an artist dies in me. But some chroniclers claimed his final command was not to his poets or musicians, but to his guards. According to legend, the Praetorians loaded wagons with gold and sealed them within tunnels beneath the Palatine Hill, before vanishing into the catacombs that ran beneath the new amphitheater, the place that would later become the Colosseum. When Nero died, the secret of his treasure died with him. The new emperors who followed stripped his palaces, melted his statues, and erased his name from monuments. But the Domus Aurea resisted destruction. Its golden frescoes survived beneath layers of earth and forgotten ruins. When it was rediscovered in the Renaissance, artists like Raphael and Michelangelo descended into its chambers by torchlight, stunned by the splendor that time had buried. And beneath those frescoes, in the silent corridors of cracked marble and faded gold, whispers of hidden doors and sealed vaults still echoed. Every emperor after Nero's, from Vespasian to Trajan, ordered excavations beneath the Palatine, seeking what their predecessor had hidden. None found it. Even now, archaeologists mapping the underground passages beneath the Colosseum admit there are sections they cannot explain. Brick tunnels leading nowhere, blocked wells that descend into darkness, stone corridors whose ends remain sealed. Rome is a city built upon itself, layer upon layer of empire and ruin. And somewhere beneath it all, perhaps beneath the Golden House itself, lies what chroniclers once called the sleeping heart of Nero's Rome. The lost gold of the emperor who watched his city burn. For centuries after Nero's death, his name was erased, his palaces dismantled, his statues destroyed, his memory condemned. Yet beneath the surface of Rome, the shadow of his empire endured. In the darkness below the Palatine Hill, beneath the arches of the Colosseum and the ruins of the Forum, lies a world that few have ever seen, a labyrinth older than legend itself. The Romans were masters of what lay underground. Their cities were threaded with aqueducts, cisterns, catacombs, and storage chambers, hidden arteries of an empire that lived both above and below the earth. But among these countless tunnels, a few stood apart. Vast sealed vaults built during Nero's reign, their entrances lost to time. Ancient texts spoke of them only in fragments. Corridors lined with bronze doors, rooms filled with light that came from no fire, and guardians who never slept. When the Flavian emperors constructed the Colosseum atop the ruins of Nero's lake, they encountered foundations of an earlier structure, walls of black basalt, archways that led into darkness, and sealed chambers that even their engineers dared not open. These were quietly covered, incorporated into new designs, and forgotten. Some whispered that the Flavians feared what they might find, the cursed horde of the mad emperor. Centuries later, during the Renaissance, the rediscovery of the Domus Aurea reignited fascination with what still lay hidden. Artists like Raphael and Michelangelo descended by torchlight into its painted corridors, sketching its faded frescoes by the flicker of flame. They told stories of strange sounds echoing through the walls, a faint humming as if air moved through passages unseen. Local workers refused to stay underground after dark. Some said they saw reflections of gold deep within the cracks. As the centuries passed, Rome grew heavier. New streets, churches, and palaces rose above the buried empire. Each layer sealed the secrets of the last. And yet, every few decades, something re-emerged. A new chamber, a forgotten stairway, a collapsed tunnel revealing walls of ancient concrete older than the Colosseum itself. In the 19th century, early archaeologists began to document these discoveries with growing obsession.
Giovanni Battista de Rossi, a pioneer of Roman archaeology, mapped hundreds of catacombs and passageways beneath the Palatine and the Esquiline Hills. He noted areas where the stone seemed different, thicker, smoother, almost melted as if it had been fused by fire. Behind certain sealed doors, he detected hollow echoes, empty space that should not have existed. He believed he had found entrances to the imperial vaults of Nero, but excavation was forbidden. The ground above was too unstable. Later, during World War II, the tunnels once again found use, not as sanctuaries of emperors, but as bomb shelters for civilians. In those years, soldiers reported strange magnetic interference in
certain corridors near the Colosseum. Their compasses spun and the air felt charged. Some swore they heard metallic sounds, like chains being dragged through the stone. When the war ended, these stories were dismissed as superstition, yet no one could explain the anomalies. Modern explorers have tried to follow the same paths. Using ground-penetrating radar and 3D imaging, Italian archaeologists have revealed a vast web of chambers stretching beneath the Colosseum, Palatine Hill, and the ruins of Nero's Golden House. Some tunnels extend farther than expected, dipping below the ancient Cloaca Maxima, Rome's oldest sewer, and into areas no one had ever mapped. Among these passages are voids that appear intentionally sealed with concrete from Nero's era, dating back nearly 2,000 years. Whatever was buried there, it was meant to remain untouched, and yet, small discoveries continue to hint at the truth. Fragments of golden mosaics, inscriptions bearing the imperial sigil N, bronze rings from treasure chests, and shards of amphorae containing traces of silver dust. Each piece is a whisper of something greater, a glimpse into what once glittered in the torchlight of the emperor's secret halls. Some believe the vault of Nero still exists, a colossal underground chamber said to lie somewhere between the Palatine and the Calaean Hills, beneath what is now a maze of private basements and subway lines. Others think it was moved centuries ago, dismantled stone by stone, its treasures scattered across monasteries, catacombs, and hidden chapels of the Middle Ages. But a few, including respected historians, argue that the vault was never destroyed, only sealed. Their evidence lies not in gold, but in geometry. The alignment of certain ancient tunnels mirrors constellations worshipped by Nero's astrologers. The intersection points form a pattern, a perfect circle centered beneath the ruins of the Golden House. To those who study such things, this was no coincidence. It was design, a map written into the earth itself. Today, tourists walk above these secrets, unaware that beneath their feet lies a city of shadows, deeper, older, and far more dangerous than any legend. Few have permission to descend into those forgotten depths, and those who do describe the same sensations. The air grows colder, sound becomes muffled, and the feeling of being watched intensifies with every step. Down there, history feels alive and waiting. For Rome is not just a city of marble and sunlit ruins. It is a labyrinth of ghosts, and somewhere beneath its foundations, the lost fortune of the mad emperor may still glimmer in the dark, sealed behind the walls that outlasted both fire and empire. The legend of Nero's treasure refused to die. For nearly 2,000 years, its shadow haunted the eternal city, whispered in the streets, painted in the chronicles of monks, murmured by grave diggers and gold hunters who dared to dream of Rome's forbidden heart. During the Renaissance, when artists and scholars rediscovered the buried Golden House, word spread quickly that Nero's fabled gold might still lie hidden in its depths. The papal authorities, fearful of blasphemy and greed, forbade unsanctioned excavations, yet secret diggers still came by night. Some tunnels collapsed under their hands. Others led to frescoed rooms that had not seen light since the fall of the empire. The few survivors spoke of walls gleaming faintly in the darkness and of doors that seemed to vanish when touched. In 1538, during the construction of a palace near the Colosseum, workers uncovered a marble stairway leading downward. It descended into a chamber filled with debris and broken statues, and in its center, a sealed bronze door fused by heat. When they forced it open, a sudden gust of air blew out every torch. The men fled, leaving the passage unexplored. The doorway was sealed again and its location forgotten. By the 1700s, Rome was alive with treasure hunters. Among them was the enigmatic Marchese Giovanni Manzoni, a scholar and mystic who believed that the vault of Nero held not only gold, but sacred artifacts looted from the temples of Jerusalem. He claimed to have deciphered symbols hidden in the mosaics of the Domus Aurea, markings that formed a path to the subterranean city. In 1721, he led an expedition into the old tunnels beneath the Palatine Hill. None of them returned. When rescue parties followed, they found only shattered helmets, extinguished lamps, and a wall freshly collapsed. Manzoni's map was never found, though a copy survived in a private collection in Florence, describing a vault of endless mirrors beneath the Lion's Gate. To this day, no one knows what he meant. The 19th century brought science to the search. Archaeologists, engineers, and early historians tried to separate myth from fact, but the boundary blurred. In 1820, Antonio Nibbi mapped the underground structures beneath the Colosseum and reported anomalies, chambers that defied alignment with known architecture. Some appeared circular, others sealed behind slabs of travertine without any inscriptions. Nibbi wrote, "There are rooms that breathe, though no man walks them." His notes were dismissed as poetic exaggeration, until later, excavations proved several of his chambers were real. As technology advanced, so did the obsession. In 1939, Mussolini ordered extensive reconstruction of the Palatine area, hoping to glorify Rome's imperial past. During the digging, workers uncovered an ancient shaft lined with brick stamped Nero AVG. The discovery caused panic among the overseers, and the shaft was quickly sealed. Under orders from the regime, no public record of its contents exists. After World War II, the fascination reignited. Rumors spread that Nazi officers stationed in Italy had searched the Roman catacombs for the emperor's treasure, guided by occult manuscripts seized from monasteries. Some claimed they even found parts of it, a chest of coins and a golden mask bearing the likeness of Nero himself, before the Allies arrived. But the artifacts vanished after the war, their existence neither proven nor denied. By the 1970s, Rome's underworld became a laboratory for modern archaeology. Teams from La Sapienza University used magnetic resonance and seismic mapping to chart the subsurface around the Colosseum. They discovered empty cavities up to 20 meters deep, arranged in near-perfect symmetry, suggesting deliberate design. Several of these voids remain inaccessible, blocked by reinforced foundations from later centuries. Unofficial reports mention metallic echoes detected by sonar, consistent with large sealed chambers. No excavation permit has ever been granted. In 1996, an Italian archaeologist named Lorenzo Guidi announced a private expedition using autonomous ground sensors. He claimed to have located a rectangular vault beneath Via Claudia, directly beneath what once was part of Nero's palace gardens. Before the dig could begin, Guidi's funding was cut, his research confiscated by the Cultural Ministry. He died a year later in what was called an accident. His colleagues never spoke publicly again. Today, the search continues quietly. Independent researchers, engineers, historians, even ex-military divers use underground imaging and magnetic tomography to probe beneath modern Rome. They work in secret, avoiding publicity and bureaucratic restrictions. Among them is Professor Elisa Mariani, one of the leading experts on ancient Roman topography. Her team has spent over a decade scanning sections of the Palatine, detecting unusual voids beneath the thermal baths of Titus. She believes one of them may lead to a chamber built not for storage, but for worship. Because beneath all the stories of gold and greed lies another layer of mystery. Nero was not only emperor, he was also a devout practitioner of mystical rites. He surrounded himself with astrologers, alchemists, and priests of forgotten gods. Some historians suggest that the vault was part of an initiation complex, a sacred underworld where only the emperor and his chosen few could enter, to commune with the divine through rituals of fire and light. If true, the treasure was not merely wealth, but a symbol of transformation, gold as eternal flame, as immortality itself. And perhaps that is why it has never been found. Not because it is lost, but because it was never meant to be discovered by ordinary men. Every empire leaves behind two kinds of ruins, those of stone and those of memory. The stones of Nero's Rome still stand, buried beneath streets and cathedrals. But the memory, the legend of the emperor's gold, continues to gleam in the imagination of those who still listen to the echoes beneath the city. For under Rome's ancient foundations, there may still lie a vault where time itself has stopped, where the gold of a mad emperor rests, waiting for the world above to forget its name. Time devours empires as surely as fire devoured Rome. Marble becomes dust, names become echoes, and even gold, the purest metal, tarnishes when touched by ambition. Yet some stories refuse to fade. They cling to the ruins, whispering through the cracks of history. The lost gold of Nero is one of them. 2,000 years have passed, and still the world wonders. Did the treasure survive the flames, or was it only ever a myth? No one can say. But its legend has endured, not as a record of wealth, but as a reflection of something deeper within the human soul. Nero dreamed of eternity. He built his golden palace to outshine the gods, filled it with mirrors, gems, and light, a monument to himself, carved from the heart of a wounded city. But when he died, the palace was buried, the statues melted, and the glory he sought turned to silence. All that remained was the question, how much would a man destroy to be remembered? Through the centuries, others tried to answer it. Kings, conquerors, popes, all searching for their own gold of Nero. Some sought it in conquest, others in faith or empire. But each built upon the same foundation, the belief that power could be made eternal through possession. They forgot that every empire, no matter how vast, stands on borrowed time. Rome's fire never truly went out. It burned still. Not in the city's ruins, but in the hunger that drives men to rebuild, to dominate, to claim what cannot be kept. The treasure of Nero became a mirror, showing the same truth to every age, that greed can outlive the hand that holds it. Modern explorers scan the earth with satellites and machines, chasing signals beneath the Colosseum and Palatine Hill. Their instruments hum where priests once chanted, where slaves once carried the emperor's gold into the dark. They are not only searching for a lost vault, they are searching for meaning, for proof that greatness can survive the fire of time. But perhaps the true treasure has already been found. Not in the soil, not in the gold, but in the story itself. Because legends are stronger than stone. They do not burn and they do not decay. They endure as warnings, as mirrors, as songs whispered from the ruins of ambition. And so, the gold of Nero still glimmers somewhere between myth and memory. Not as coins or crowns, but as a light that tempts every generation to reach too far. It shines in the eyes of those who crave more than the world can give, who build their own golden houses, believing they will last forever. Yet all things built on pride must fall. Only the story remains, a faint reflection of the empire that once believed itself immortal. And as night settles over the ruins of Rome, that reflection still flickers beneath the earth, the eternal glow of a fire that never died.